at those guys side by side. Couldn't be any more different. And yeah, that's really it, man. I hopped on this bike with, I think, 10 miles on it. So, again, brand new 2018 Fat Bob. Literally off the floor. So first and foremost, major shout out to Harley Davidson of Nassau County for setting this whole thing up. And now, does it feel so weird hopping back on this thing after that, man? Woo! It couldn't be any different, man. Two different worlds. Yeah. Nothing could replace that sound, that's for sure. So let me just start by, finally concluding the first question I asked, which was, is the Dyna dead? And I think my answer to that, after riding that bike, is gonna be yes and no. And when I first started doing this, I really thought I was going to come away just saying like, no, the Dyna's not dead, this is going to be the replacement, blah, blah, blah. But it turns out that that bike is just something completely different from the Dyna lineup. Like, it's a completely different bike. It's like nothing I've ever ridden before. I was shocked by that ride I just did. So I say yes and no, and I don't say that with like a negative spin on it. I'm not saying like, yes, the Dyna's dead, nothing will ever replace it. I'm saying, yes, the Dyna, as the one I'm riding right now, is dead. That bike is it's just too different for us to say that it's the same experience. Like, it's just not. There's like, I'll go through it in bare details, but I can't say that it's the same experience riding that bike. But what I can say is that riding that bike was an amazing experience, and I didn't want to put it down. Like, I wanted to like take that thing another 100 miles and just like whip around or take it into the city or do whatever. It's just a completely different riding experience. In short, and I'm sure some people will disagree with me, but I feel like the bike I'm on now, your like classic Dyna or whatever, it's just like, it's a more raw bike. It's just like a it's a more raw ride. It sounds raw, and I'm being very vague as I say that, but the thing that I felt the most while I was on that 2018 Fat Bob was just smoothness, man. It was just so damn smooth in everything that it did. From the suspension, to the braking, to the turning, to the acceleration. It was just all so damn smooth. It felt so good to ride that bike. And I'm not saying it doesn't feel great to ride my Dyna right now. It does, but what I'm saying is they're just two very different experiences. So, the first thing that stood out to me when I hopped on that bike was the insane amount of torque and power that it had. And like, I did not expect that. It's like you're coming, it's a stock bike, stock exhaust, but damn, man, did that thing just haul ass. I couldn't believe it, man. I had to look down and say, am I really going this fast right now? Alright, let me slow this thing down. I'm pretty sure I signed a waiver that said I wouldn't speed on this thing. Off the line, the thing is flying, man. Next up, and I talked about it before, was just the general position of the rider on the bike. And even though it's rocking drag bars, and I remember the days when this bike had drag bars and how much my back would hurt from being in that position, because of the forward controls, you're actually in this position that's like, I feel like it would be sustainable and you wouldn't have like your back hurt after a long ride. Like, I was super comfortable on that bike, man. And like I said, the forward controls like weren't so forward that I felt like my feet were like flying up in the air or anything. You know, it definitely wasn't mid controls like I'm rocking here, but it wasn't forward enough for me to be like, yeah, I don't feel like I could be as aggressive with this thing. But that being said, just because like I'm always gonna be a mid control guy until I die. Yeah, don't steal that from me. Mid control guy till I die. But just because of that, I feel like if I did buy that bike, I would probably I would probably do the work and get the work done to get the controls to be mid. So the next thing I noticed about it is just like how different that frame feels. It feels nothing like being on a Dyna. And it's like, they say like, you know, it's definitely lighter, but it's not like a whole lot lighter. I think it's like, I gotta like actually check the facts, but it's not like, you see the numbers and you're not like blown away by how much lighter it is. But doing like turns and just like moving the bike around, like it feels so much lighter than my Dyna. And I was really surprised by that. So I guess like, you know, taking, you know, 40 pounds off or whatever, like really makes a pretty big difference. The next thing is like, you know, I've seen the bike a whole bunch of times since they released it, but like in person, like just doing the walk around, like the bike looks sick, man. Like it's not a Dyna, you know, but the bike totally looks sick. It as people say, it's got that like Mad Max feel, like maybe you'd be like cruising along in the desert. I think one point I definitely have to make about it is like, I went into it being like, yeah, these bikes can be cool, you know, like they can be, there's guys out there who are making them look like Dynas, and therefore you have a better engine and something that looks like and feels a Dyna, so why wouldn't that be better? But upon like riding it, I gotta really say, like, it's its own thing. And like, I think if you get that bike, like, you don't have to feel like you have to conform to make it look like a Dyna or something. Like, it's just gonna be its own thing, and whatever that is, it's gonna be awesome. I just had such a great time riding that thing. And you know, that's not to say that making the traditional upgrades that we do to Dynas wouldn't make that bike better. Like, maybe it would be better with T-bars, you know? Maybe it would be better. I mean, I'm sure it would be better with a fairing, you know? Like, I forgot what it was like to ride naked. This is a terrible thing. Dude, you got your trunk open, you got beach baskets and whatnot. You gotta close your trunk, bro. What are you doing?
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
But yeah, man. Like I said, so I mean, if you're like a new rider and like you're getting into the whole Dyna scene and everything, like I would say, before you like go out there, and if this is a couple of years later, which, you know, the price of these bikes are definitely gonna rise because they're not making them anymore. But before you go out and like drop a bunch of money on like a old lowrider or like a street bob, I would say definitely get out there and test ride some of these bikes, because the Dyna is always going to be the Dyna and nothing is going to replace that. But there's definitely a spot in this scene for those new bikes. And if you don't believe me on that, go to your nearest dealer and just test ride one. Like, I would never sell my Dyna, you know, of course, but if I were in the market for another bike, you know, in some, say, I don't know, 10, 20 years or something, you know, I might consider, you know, one of those. I just had such a good time, man. Oh, man, beach is looking good. Got this nice 70-degree day here. So, yeah, again, let me know how you feel about it in the comments, especially if you've test ridden one before. You know, I'm always interested to see, especially if you're on a Dyna too. But yeah, that's really it. As always, thank you for watching. And as I hit this little U-turn over here on Ocean Parkway, oh man, look at that.